Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. In today's video, I want to take a look at what's new in Photo AI since it's now been a full month since it was publicly released out of beta. And to that end, I'm going to start off showing the differences between what you saw in my previous video, which was on version 0.8 of beta, to show what changed up to version 1 that was publicly released around September 14th, I believe it was. And then once I get through that, I'm going to jump over to the latest version as of recording that was released on October 13th. That takes us up to version 1.0.5. And there are a couple nice new features in there that I do want to walk through really quickly. Now, all that said, they are putting out weekly releases, it looks like, which is a great thing. Most of them seem to be centered around bug fixes and performance improvements. Looks like they've been addressing some memory leaks and optimizations, which is great to see. Now, I don't know that I'm going to be doing one of these videos every few weeks or every month, but I think going forward, we'll really just kind of play it by ear and see what kind of new features are coming that are worth showing off so that we can see how we're getting closer and closer to closing the gap between Photo AI and the standalone apps of the Topaz Labs DeNoise, Sharpening AI, and Gigapixel. And that's worth calling out. Topaz has been very open in their blog post and whatnot that they are looking to eventually replace those standalone apps with just Photo AI. They've got a long ways to go there because we don't have all the controls, but that's what they're working towards over time. And because of that, we're going to be seeing fewer releases or fewer updates for those standalone apps while they dump all their resources into Photo AI and building it up. Now, I know we want to get to the meat of the video and show off what's new, but before I do so, I do want to address a lot of questions that came in from my last video and its corresponding blog post was really centered around confusion around the pricing for Photo AI, and I found it very confusing. Finally, I've got clarification on it, so bear with me. I want to step through that really quickly and then we'll jump into getting to the first demos. So first things first, if you have an active upgrade license for the image quality bundle, which includes their DeNoise AI, Sharpening AI, and Gigapixel AI, you can download Photo AI for free. The only requirement is that your upgrade license for that image quality bundle is active, meaning you are still in the 12-month window of being able to get free updates to those image quality standalone apps. If you don't have any of those apps and you just want to jump right to Photo AI, then you can buy Photo AI separately on its own and just work with it instead of worrying about the standalone apps. Now, where it gets additionally confusing is if you've got, say, DeNoise AI, but not Sharpening AI or Gigapixel AI, or you've got two of the three, you don't qualify for Photo AI, but you can add in the missing apps to complete your image quality bundle, and then you'll get Photo AI for free. So there's all kinds of ways you can get Photo AI for free, whether you've got an active upgrade license for that image quality bundle or not, whether you've got the full bundle or not. If your upgrade license is expired, you can renew it for a lower fee, and that'll get you Photo AI for free. If you don't have any of the apps, or you don't want to bother with upgrading your license or buying additional apps in that image quality bundle in order to get Photo AI for free, they have added in a free trial of Photo AI now, which is great, so you can try it before you buy it. It doesn't let you actually export any files, but you can go into the application, run your files through it, and see the results you're getting to see if it's something that is up to your standards, so to speak, and would be worth purchasing at the full price. Now, whether you need to upgrade, add apps, or just want to buy Photo AI outright, I do have the links down below. They're a great way to help support the channel. They are affiliate links. I'm not sponsored by Topaz. I've paid for all their apps myself, but it is worth noting, as I've said in the last video, they are affiliate links, so I do earn a small commission. However, if you've watched that last video, if you've read my blog post on the first look at Photo AI, I believe you'll see that I am giving an honest and truthful opinion based on my experiences with the app so far. I am a true believer in their standalone apps for sure. Photo AI still needs some work, but it's certainly where things are going in the future, as again, they've said themselves. That said, my personal recommendation right now is to go with the image quality bundle and get Photo AI for free. It does cost a little bit more than just buying Photo AI by itself. However, there are still gaps in functionality. As you'll see in the video here, there's still some little glitches and bugs that Photo AI needs to work out. So yes, it's the future. Yes, technically it's an all-in-one solution for a smaller price, but it's not quite there yet. If you buy the image quality bundle, you can quote unquote grow with Photo AI as they continue to release updates and add in that missing functionality over time. And with all that out of the way, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, turn on the bell so you know as I release new videos going forward. And if you love the video, I'd greatly appreciate if you use the thanks button to make a small contribution to the channel after YouTube's cut, as that goes a long ways towards helping me do this going forward. And now let's jump on into the main part of the video. Hold on. I know I said we were going to start the video, but I just got news from Topaz that I'm able to offer an exclusive discount towards your purchase. So hit the link down below, but also you'll find the discount code. It's good for 2 weeks from the release of this video, so don't hesitate. Take advantage of it while you can. That's out of the way now. Now let's jump into the main part of the video. Okay, so just like with my early look or first look at Photo AI video, I'm going to be working out of Lightroom Classic just from an organizational standpoint. And as noted in the introduction, we're going to start off looking at Photo AI version 1. And that's going to be primarily for a baseline so you can see where things started off a month ago and where they've now progressed to roughly 4 weeks after the release of Photo AI to the public. I want to start off looking at this photo of my dog in particular because if you remember, if you happen to watch the first look at Photo AI video, this one in particular had some issues with some artifacts that were created in the output file that I wasn't able to fully resolve, but keeping in mind that was a beta version of the application. So first things first, I'm curious to see, does version 1.0 that released fully to the public resolve that issue? And then also that'll give me the ability to show you some of the new tools that were added in for that public release. Once we get through this, we'll jump over to the latest version, which is version 1.05. So let me select the raw file here. We're going to right click, add it in, Photo AI. And just like we saw with the early look, it runs through and does all the detection to try to make a determination of what the issues are and how best to fix those issues, whether it be noise or blur or what have you. And we can already identify some differences just in the look of some of the icons and things like that, but nothing too major. And much as we saw on the beta version, this image is being defined as having high luminance noise and that also sharpening of a soft subject is needed. Now, the first big change you'll note with this public release is that it did once again detect the subject, and we can see once again it's still not doing a very good job on this particular image for some reason, which still kind of baffles me because honestly I think it's a pretty clear subject. At least you would think it would be picking up the rest of his face and his ear. But there is now the ability to use this refine button for the subject selection to try to home in on the actual subject a little bit more. And you've actually got some different modes. You've got the default subject select, portrait, which it'll rerun its analysis. And it's a little bit better, but if we look in the upper right window here, you can see it's pulling in a lot of the fence as well. There's a landscape option, which probably isn't going to do us too much on this one. Yeah, that's going to pull in way too much. So go back to default. But then you've also got a sensitivity slider, so you can turn that sensitivity up or down to try to better refine that. So that's getting us a little bit better, but unfortunately, we still don't have the ability to actually brush in or out different areas of the image to try to refine that subject selection. So this is a step in the right direction for the public release, but obviously still some opportunity here in terms of that refinement. You also have a softness slider, so if you crank this up, it's basically changing the feathering or the amount of feathering on the edges of the selection. So again, it needs work still, but it is an improvement in terms of giving you a little bit more control. And I suspect that we'll continue to see more and more coming with this as they continue to roll out updates. Let's just click done on that. Now, as we go through this, we can also see some differences in terms of remove noise. You've still got your normal and strong. By default, this particular one's selected strong. And again, if I slide this back and forth, you can see the before and after. On this particular one with sharpening, I think it's being way too aggressive around his eye here. And again, we've got inconsistency because that subject masking by default is selected for the sharpening. So if I expand this out, we can see we're sharpening subject only. So I'm going to turn that off. So at least we get a more consistent level of sharpening across the image and the actual subject of this photo. And we can see out of the two sharpen options, lens blur and motion blur, it chose motion blur. And once again, we've got a slider for adjusting the strength here as well. So I can dial this back since I feel it's a little overdone, let it run its analysis again, and we'll get the updated result. Now, as I said in the initial first look video, I would call out that the issues of what I feel is it being overly aggressive on sharpening is not unique to Photo AI. I felt that way about the Topaz apps across the board, including the standalone apps. So it is nice to have the refinement controls, but it's just something to be aware of. And obviously it's personal preference as well in terms of what you're happy with and that final output file you get. We still have the recover faces, which is disabled obviously as there's no human face in this. Enhanced resolution is related to the upscaling if we were to upscale this to a larger size. And once again, we still have natural graphics and low resolution, but this isn't a low resolution file, so I'm not going to worry about that here. And then still we have the upscale ratios that you can choose from, as well as giving you the ability to punch in specific dimensions that you want to upscale to also. So in terms of the initial release, nothing too hugely drastic from what we saw in that first look with the beta version. One nice thing is they have added in the tooltips or fixed the tooltips. So as you hover on the different icons and sections here, you do get a tooltip that actually tells you what these tools are doing, which is certainly a nice little enhancement as well. I don't think we're really getting any different results. They're primarily using the same models for the DeNoise and sharpening engines, so we're not going to see much there, but I am curious if the graphical glitches in this particular file are fixed. So let's go ahead and kick this back to Lightroom Classic and see what we get there. And now that we're back here in Lightroom Classic, if we look at the original beta version output, again, I had the little graphical glitch here and also over on this tree. If we look at the latest file output, or at least the file output from version 1 that released publicly a month ago, unfortunately still have the graphical glitch here. However, it has been resolved mostly. There's still just the faintest little hint of a little bit of a purple smudge right here and right here, but it's vastly improved. Now I am curious as I update to version 1.05 to see if these go away, as there's also been an NVIDIA Studio driver update recently as well that adds support for Photo AI, so that may help resolve some of these things too. But otherwise, we get the output we would expect. If we go into comparison mode with the original file and the sharpened file, we can take a look. And original files on the left, sharpened and cleaned up files on the right. As always, it might be a little bit hard to see some of the finer details in the recording, but the noise is definitely improved in the shadows in the tree. And there's definitely been some nice sharpness added in the fur of his ear and the fur around his eye. So again, with that sharpen refinement slider that we applied, been able to dial that back a little bit and I think get a pretty acceptable result here. And instead of comparing it to the original file, let's take a look at real quickly the initial public release of version 1 versus that beta release to see if we see any notable difference between those two files. I don't expect we will, other than perhaps any differences I had in terms of the settings that were applied since I adjusted that sharpening slider a little bit. So if we look at this is the version 1 version over here. This is version, I believe I tested on version 0.8 on the beta. You can see there is some more sharpening in the beta version, but again, I think that's just a difference in the settings applied. From a noise cleanup standpoint, they look just as good from one to the other. I actually think, and again, it's subtle, so it might be hard to see, but I think this area of the tree bark looks like it was handled better in the initial public release compared to the beta version here, where there's a little bit of crunchiness or artifacting in this particular area of the tree. So overall, it's certainly not a step backwards, and I think it actually is a little bit of a step forwards from what we saw in beta, so that is definitely a good thing. So now through the magic of editing, I'm going to update my Photo AI app to the latest version, which again, as of this recording, is version 1.0.5 that released on October 13th of 2022. So let me get that done and we'll come back in, show you the differences in terms of where we're at a month later from the public release and see if we're getting any better results out of it. All right, and just like that, we are now in the latest version of Topaz Photo AI, version 1.0.5, as you can see up here. So before we get into actually working with any kind of images, some of the biggest differences with this latest version are around giving you more refinement controls from a preferences standpoint. So if we look at the top menu here, you can actually see that there is now a preferences menu. One of them is for enable lens correction. That's if you're importing raw files directly into Topaz Photo AI. The other is for autopilot configuration. So if I click on this, we can see we've got quite a few different options available in here. So just going through the list really quickly, you have the ability to set your default subject detection mode. So default is default, kind of ironic, but whatever. You can opt to have it default to portrait mode, landscape mode, or none. So if you're not happy with the subject detection, or if you just want to be able to control it and only have it trigger when you choose to, you can set this to none, and it won't automatically include that subject detection as part of the initial image scan. You can also turn enabling face detection on or off. By default, it's always enabled. But again, if it's someone that works primarily with nature photos, I don't need face detection taking resources from my system, so I can turn this off by default and leave it be. You also have some controls over the default sharpening levels for the sharpen functionality. It basically allows you to set the threshold for when sharpening will be applied based on the amount of blur detected in the image. You can see this little note down here. The text is a little bit small, but by default, autopilot will enable sharpen when it detects medium or high blur in the image or subject. So I can turn on low as well, indicating that I want it to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of that sharpening detection, or making that determination of when sharpening needs to be applied based on what it's detecting when it analyzes an image. And then on the auto upscaling side of things, you can set the default preferences here as well to set output size. You can set a default for the actual scaling. or a default for width or height in terms of number of pixels. You can have it default to enhance small images automatically, which is the standard setting here. And again, if you read the small text, by default, Autopilot will upscale small images from 1.5 to 4 times to a maximum of 12 megapixels with enhanced resolution. Auto upscaling will not occur in sessions where resizing is not supported, such as when invoked from Photoshop. And then just like with the subject detection and face detection, we can choose to have this turned off and just give ourselves full control over whether it's implemented or not as we work on the actual images. So I've got those settings applied. I'm going to close out of this and I'll jump back over to Lightroom. And once again, we've got this photo of Kimball selected. So let me just do the usual right click, edit in, Topaz Photo AI. We're just going to stick with the Lightroom adjustments. We haven't done anything else. And it's run through all of its analysis, but the first thing you're going to notice here is it didn't open in full window mode. This seems to be a little bit of a bug or a glitch that they've been combating. Some of the release notes noted that they were working on making improvements around the full window view. I can't recall if the notes indicated if this was just an issue on Windows or if it's also impacting Mac. But anyways, we'll just manually expand this window out. And as we can see over on the right here, not much has changed. We still have the ability to refine the subject. Nothing new here in terms of going from that initial public release of version 1.0 to this version of 1.0.5. So we'll just cancel that out. We can see that it's still determined that high luminance noise exists and that the subject is out of focus and needs to be sharpened. If I come down to image quality and go to remove noise, we can see that they have added in a new slider to adjust your parameters. So in addition to that strength slider, you also now have the ability to increase or decrease the detail slider. Unfortunately, you still have the tooltip on the remove noise tool as a whole, but it doesn't give you any information in terms of what the differences are between modifying the strength slider versus the detail slider. I mean, strength is pretty self-explanatory, but what exactly is the detail doing? Is that looking at fine details, large details? Is it controlling the sensitivity of looking for details? So let me get this centered a little bit better here. And we'll drag this thing over. We'll just split his face. So if I play with this detail slider, let's just crank it all the way up so we can see. It's going to reanalyze and reprocess. And I can't say that I'm seeing a huge difference. Let's take it all the way down. Perhaps this image isn't the best example. I'm not seeing much of a difference in the output here. And again, I do wish they'd give a tooltip here to let you know what exactly this is supposed to be doing. But for the sake of being an optimist, hey, they've added a new parameter in here that you've got some additional control over that we didn't have before. So I can't complain too much. Again, maybe this particular image just isn't the best example for it, and therefore we're not seeing much of a difference. If we go down to the Sharpen panel, again, we can see we have an additional control down here as well. So we've still got the initial strength slider, but now there's also a clarity slider as well. Now, right off the bat, it has once again tried to detect the subject, which I thought I turned off in the preferences. So actually, let's jump back up to this refine here. Default portrait, we'll just give it a try to see if maybe it does any better job. That's about the same as what we got with the initial public release version we looked at a moment ago. So anyways, I've turned off the subject detection. We'll go back into the Sharpen panel. And now if we watch his face, let me just crank the clarity all the way to the right. And we'll pull it all the way to the left. Again, I don't know that I'm seeing a huge difference in terms of impact to the image between clarity all the way down and cranked all the way up. Let's go to 200%. So this is with clarity all the way down. If we take it all the way up, yeah, frankly, I'm really not seeing a difference in terms of what clarity is doing. Now, certainly if we adjust the strength slider, we'll see a much, much greater difference there, taking it all the way down and bringing it up slowly bit by bit. And again, usually with the sharpening, I find a little bit less than what they recommend is usually the way to go. So we'll just pull this back down a little bit. But again, I am uncertain what the clarity slider is actually doing, at least in terms of Photo AI. Let's reset this to autopilot settings real quickly. We'll pull back on that sharpness level a little bit. Again, And let's kick it over to Lightroom Classic so we can do some new comparisons and also see if the data glitch issues have been fixed now that I'm on the latest version and I'm running the latest version of my NVIDIA GPU driver. And now that we're back here in Lightroom Classic, we can see that unfortunately the graphic issue is still a problem. And actually this spot that was almost completely gone in version 1 has come back with a vengeance. The spot that was over on the left here looks better. I don't see any hints. Well, I take that back. There's a little bit of a glitch right in that spot too. So it's possible it's an issue with the actual raw file, although I'm not seeing it in any other outputs I'm doing with this file. But it is worth noting that of the roughly 30 images I've now tested across the different versions of Photo AI, this is the only image that's been generating any kind of graphical glitches in it. So maybe I need to use a different example image going forward. Now, if we do a comparison between this latest version and the initial public release, that should be edit 3 and edit 2. So we'll select these and go into compare mode. So again, the latest version is going to be on the left, the initial public release on the right. And I think they look pretty similar. There is a little bit more graininess around his upper edge of his left eye. But again, that could be just a variance in the settings that I applied. Otherwise, I think we're looking pretty good. The noise in the tree, once again, is cleaned up quite nicely. Things are looking pretty good throughout. So as expected, I don't think we're seeing too many major differences between the output files, other than trying to figure out what's going on with those glitches. And at this point, I'm pretty well confident in saying that it's probably an issue with the actual raw file, as opposed to an issue with Photo AI. Okay, so I put the overlays in the demo video, but if you didn't catch them, there is an issue with Photo AI in terms of that photo glitch we're seeing in this particular image I've been using for the demo. I did run it through Sharpen AI, the standalone app, and although I actually like the results in Photo AI better, Sharpen AI had its own set of issues in terms of over-sharpening some areas that should have been left blurred in the background and things like that. But it did not generate any of those little purple splotches or glitches in the file at all. So it's not an issue with the file. I actually tried a different file of that same shot and it exhibited almost the exact same issue as the other one in Photo AI. So clearly this is a bug. I need to submit it and make the team aware of it. But I just wanted to call that out now that I've got clarification on that after I recorded the demo. So anyways, as you just saw, we're seeing fairly small steps so far. I think it's smart that they're focusing on bugs and improving the performance of the app, as obviously if the user experience isn't good, it doesn't matter what features are in it or aren't in it yet. I definitely do notice that it seems far snappier than the beta version that I used when I was recording that first video about 6 weeks ago now. And needless to say, it's great to see some refinement sliders come into the mix for controlling your sharpening and your DeNoise. Although as we saw in the video, it's a little unclear exactly what they're doing. Again, maybe that particular image isn't the greatest, but you'd still think with the range of 0 to 100 that we'd be seeing some kind of impact dialing those sliders up and down. So again, maybe it was the file I'm using, but I'm thinking that there may be some work that they can still do there with those refinement tools they've added in so far. As I said at the beginning, I doubt I'm going to be doing these videos every single month. It's going to be a lot to keep up with. And again, we're not seeing huge leaps forward. If we do, then yes, certainly I'll do a new video to show off what's new and what they're doing to close those gaps. But we're just going to have to see how quickly they work towards that goal, I guess. As a reminder, if you need to purchase one of the image quality apps, if you need to renew your license for the image quality bundle, or if you want to buy Photo AI on its own, I'd love it if you use the links down below so I can get a little bit of a kickback from Topaz for doing these videos and getting those click-throughs. Again, I'm not sponsored. They're not asking me to do these videos. They're not encouraging me what to say or not to say. This is all of my own free will. It's just a way that you can help support the channel and help me continue to put content out like this going forward. And speaking of which, as always, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Again, subscribe if you're not already. And if you really love the video and appreciate this content, I'd love it if you hit the thanks button and make a small contribution. It would mean so much. I'm always grateful. And until next time, take care.